The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Don't look now, Canucks fans, but the Canucks only have one regulation win in their last 5 games. We saw that last year's Canucks were a fragile group, but are they fragile this year? Well, you're going to hear from 2 guys who invented the word fragile. Kyle Bhawan and Trevor Beggs here on Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, happy American Thanksgiving, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks, and also a Canucks writer for Daily Hive Vancouver. And before we dive into the show, we got to thank you, yes, you, listening right now, for tuning into Locked On Canucks. It's your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Make sure you go subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts if you haven't done so already, okay? Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about the Canucks and whether or not they are a fragile group. Again, don't look now. They're on a little bit of a slide, not playing their best hockey. And again, we've seen with this core that they could be a little fragile in the past. Is that the case now? Also going to talk about the Canucks depth forwards. They're killing it right now. Do the Canucks have the best depth forward group in the NHL? And then finally going to talk about 2 star Canucks who are having some sneaky struggles of late. But before we get to any of that, I got to introduce my co-host. He ain't fragile, but except for the fact that he cheers for the Green Bay Packers. Kyle Bhawan, how you doing, brother?
Wow. Hey, speaking of being fragile, yesterday was a key moment in my life because that was a big game against the Colorado Avalanche, and we lost it, and I felt sad for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Normally it's a couple hours.
Fragile.
Real talk. No. I'm getting stronger. And it's mainly because I feel as if the Canucks, it wasn't like the New York Rangers game, but I feel as if, again, that loss wasn't that bad. In fact, I feel as if we played our best game 5-on-5 in quite some time. Personally, that's how it felt, okay? Because the game against the San Jose Sharks, that didn't count. Anyways, Kyle Bhawan, Trevor Beggs, doing our thing on Locked On Canucks. Yeah, Canucks every day. And, yeah, you're off to a dark start, man. Trevor Beggs, man. Can we ban this guy from the program? Using the word fragile already. This team's provided a lot of hope for us, a lot of excitement, has brought us here. And again, 20 games in, you're bringing up a pretty strong F word. Okay? I can name the other 2 F words that are pretty strong. I think they're banned from YouTube. But fragile should be banned too from this part of the world, the West Coast, and our listening and viewing experience when it comes to your Vancouver Canucks. So let's not do that. The next 20 games, the next 10 games, the next 5 games are huge for the Vancouver Canucks. So, because whatever happened in the beginning of the season has to be somewhat left in the rearview mirror. Because we're 20 games in. It's time to move forward. Real talk.
Yeah, and it's an interesting road ahead for the Canucks. And it's part of the reason I ask, we're going to find out whether this group is fragile or not. I mean, we've heard from spokesman Ian Cole a couple times that, good teams don't lose 2, 3, 4 games in a row. And you know what happened? The Canucks lost 2 in a row, and they managed to beat a really sad sack Sharks team. But, really, again, you look at their last 4 games, their only win is against those San Jose Sharks. Now, I don't want to just poo-poo over the team. I think they actually had a half-decent effort last night. I think there was definitely a lull at 5-on-5. I feel like the Avs started to shut Vancouver down in the final 2 periods. But Vancouver managed to get their looks, and part of it, to me, does fall back on luck a little bit. Now, again, not saying the Canucks are a lucky team, but they have been, above average lucky, There is an element of luck in their success. And last night, you had a Canucks team that was facing a goalie in Alexander Georgiev, who had started 15 of 17 games and had a .888 save percentage. It's pretty subpar among starting goaltenders.
He played good, though, man. He played good.
Exactly. Well, that's my point, right? It's like, on paper, the Canucks have an opportunity with their offense against a goaltender who's struggling mightily. But, Georgia played a good game last night.
And man, there was a point in the commentary from the Avalanche side, which we'll get to later or throughout the show, because that's next level entertainment / comedy for real. Whatever's going on over there. Straight up. Anyways, during the broadcast, they did bring up how Georgiev, which is a cool name. I might name my son that for real. Georgiev was actually playing good throughout the whole season. Again, the eye test. He they claimed that he passed the eye test and he looked good yesterday. And I felt as if the Canucks didn't have a chance to do anything 5-on-5 in the second period last game because there's power plays the whole period. Both teams didn't do anything 5-on-5, for real. It's just the truth. And in the third period, you're playing a good team, a Colorado team that needs a win, they just lost a brutal game to Nashville a couple nights earlier. They were going to do their thing, but the Vancouver Canucks for like a 4 or 5 minute stretch there generated a lot of chances. They just couldn't score. It happens, man. It does. And I'll say this too. I'm getting a little scared. I know. I shouldn't be doing this, right? If the Vancouver Canucks don't start winning very soon, I'm talking, in the next 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 games, like if they don't put a streak together, a lot of people are going to be talking about the fact that, what's the number? 30% of their wins have come against the 2 worst teams in hockey. It's just the truth.
Well, I guess the Edmonton Oilers and the San Jose Sharks are 2 of the worst teams in hockey.
They are. They're the 2 worst teams. They suck.
And in fairness, part of the reason I asked the question, are the Canucks fragile, is because I think the next 5 games really matter.
Yeah, they do.
The next 5 games are all against divisional opponents. 2 of those divisional opponents, the Kraken and Flames, have already beat the Canucks recently. And you just don't want to see the Canucks start dropping more divisional games. So here's how the next 5 games line up. Friday in Seattle, Saturday in San Jose, second night of back-to-backs, Tuesday at home against the Ducks, Thursday at home against the Vegas Golden Knights, and then Saturday on the road against the Flames in Hockey Night in Canada. 5 straight divisional games for the Vancouver Canucks. And, they've built a nice cushion here in the Pacific Division, but as Ian Cole's mentioned, good teams don't lose multiple games in a row. Good teams especially don't drop multiple games in a row to teams in their own division. And I don't think the Canucks are as fragile as they were last year. I think they have a good foundation. I think all good teams go through adversity, right? And I do think what the Canucks went through last year and even the year before, and even the year before, if you want to include that as well, has given them some mental fortitude here. And I just feel like things are a bit different under Rick Tocchet. So I don't feel like things are going to snowball for this team in the way that they have in previous years. But again, we asked the question because just because the Canucks have built a cushion doesn't mean that they can just take their foot off the gas.
No, they
the next few games do matter here, and this team is not playing perfect hockey right now, as much as I think they had a chance to win last night, and they gave themselves a chance to win with their performance.
And I think that's the point that I was trying to get to when it comes to me mentioning that this team has to forget about the previous 20 games. Like, they got to play with no comfortability. Like, they can't look at the standings, play with a bit of fire under your ass, for real. Because prior to yesterday's game against Colorado, against, again, one of the better performances in a loss this season, they've looked more than shaky / a little empty. Straight up, Calgary, Toronto, those losses were bad. We shouldn't have beat Ottawa the way we did. No complete efforts. You know what I'm saying? So again, a reset is what this team needs, and I do feel as if the Vancouver Canucks can do that, mainly because of, I think metaphorically you brought up the term, their foundation is better. Well, figuratively, when you say that, you're talking about guys like JT Miller and Quinn Hughes. And Philip Hronek. I'm gonna say that too. Like, they're struggling right now, but those three guys are really good hockey players, really key positions for your team, and I feel as if they're still playing pretty high end, especially JT Miller, man. That guy is proven to be one of the best players in hockey, aka, is JT Miller the most underrated player in hockey? Can you let us know in the comments below? Because he's way better than we think he is, and the league is finding out. Because when a guy can pull off what he did yesterday in a primetime game against the Colorado Avalanche, like, that's no joke. That was one of the prettiest goals I've seen in a very long time. If Connor McDavid scores that goal, that's being played 100 times. If Austin Matthews scores that goal, it's being played 1,000 times. You know what I'm saying? That goal was, who does that? JT Miller.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, Connor McDavid doesn't score that goal because Connor McDavid probably would have skated around Devon Toews. But what JT Miller did was basically put his shoulder into Devon Toews, get position, and then still kind of flick the puck off at the same time. It was a pretty sick goal.
Bro, he banked it off his skate. He banked it off his skate to propel the puck up. It was like the alternate Pavel Bure type of goal. Again, just JT Miller's been, we've played, 20 hockey games this season? I feel as if JT Miller's played 20 good games. 20 good games. Nobody else in the Canucks has played 20 good games. So we've got a better JT Miller. Quinn Hughes, Hronek doing their thing. I know Besser can play a little bit better. Pettersson a lot better. Demko a lot better during this little struggle. But again, that foundation of having at least 3 guys plus the depth, which we'll talk about in a couple of minutes, is not it's not a recipe for disaster. Then you take in the fact that the Canucks actually played pretty good yesterday, and I like how, again, accountability has to be a thing and the standard has to be higher. But I feel as if the energy / the room is not. It's not lost in this mini struggle, because the way Quinn Hughes and Tocchet were talking, they understood that they kind of needed to take this step in their overall game. And they did that. It happened in a loss against a good team. It is what it is. But let's move forward on Friday and get a dub. Reset, man.
Yep, get that dub. And quickly before we get to the depth forwards in segment 2, I do want to touch on the whole Hughes-Makar battle last night. I mean, I found it funny. I was listening to the Avs broadcast feed, unfortunately. And they basically said that Quinn Hughes was Cale Makar without the flash. And they also made a comment about how Quinn Hughes, he's not a pretty skater, but he gets it done. And I'm like, what the hell are these guys watching, man? Like I said, Kyle, you mentioned it a few minutes ago, but the bias from these guys is like next level. It's almost a bit of a comedy session.
It is, dude. It's so funny.
It is like an actual call in a hockey game. Like, my goodness. And I mean, I chirped him a bit in my article for Daily Hive last night. It's like, Hughes may be one of the best players in hockey, and that's something the Avs broadcast team can relate to. Is they've been consistently voted a bottom 10 broadcast team in the NHL.
Oh, no way! I didn't even know that. I'm not gonna hate too much because, again, I kind of liked it. When it comes to,
they drive me nuts.
When it comes to, like, how do I say it? When it comes to a presentation like that, it could be annoying to us, but I'm curious to see how much, like, the Colorado Avalanche fans love it, Because that broadcast is just for a specific group of people. It's not for the world. Straight up. And it's different, bro. Like, I think Shorthouse does a great job. I think Bachelor does a great job. We're so lucky here, I think a big reason why there's 100 million Canucks podcasts in the world is because the pros that are actually doing it are, like, 90 plus overall. It's like never been below that for 30, 40, 50 years. You know what I'm saying? But the Avalanche podcast, one thing I did like was the lack of play-by-play. It was pretty interesting. It was like listening to a podcast / a hockey game at the same time. Anyways, Trevor, let's get to segment 2 and talk about this depth. We kind of mentioned it during the happy hour episode a couple days ago. A big reason why we're not panicking is because we feel as if the floor of this team has risen, not just based on their rankings, but based on a lot of their other players outside the Stars playing above their value, above their expectations, and that's more than a surprise.
Yeah, it's a big surprise, and more on that on the other side. Speaking of surprises, for the first time in forever, I don't have a live ad read, so we're going to take a pause here for an ad break and catch you on the other side here on Locked On Canucks.
Okay, you're back on another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Kyle Bhawan. That right there is Trevor Beggs, and this is the show that gives you your Canucks every day. A little bit of BS too. We need more of that. I always think about that. We need more of that, especially on these episodes after losses, man, for real. Thanksgiving, man. American Thanksgiving. Back in the day, when I was cold, and we've mentioned this so many times this week, okay? Maybe I'm going through a bit of a revelation, dealing with some of my trauma on this week's version of Locked On Canucks. But I used to be cold. My ex-girlfriend left me for a girl. It was a really weird time in my life, and I enjoyed being cold. That being said, I did dream of 2 things: meeting a girl in Switzerland or meeting a girl in Green Bay, which would have been dope because season tickets and Thanksgiving twice in my life. Happy Thanksgiving to America, man.
Happy Thanksgiving to America. Happy Thanksgiving to the American Canucks. I mean, we mentioned it before the season started. The Canucks are America's team, baby. Also Canada's team too. We're basically just North America's team.
Dude,
so make sure you come along for the ride here on.
Where's
Locked
the Thanksgiving jersey, man? Where's the Thanksgiving? No, why are you laughing, bro? We're led by America, dude. Where's the thing? If we have a Diwali jersey, we gotta have a Thanksgiving. I know there's a bloody past, right? Straight up. I've heard the origins of Thanksgiving, right? I think the Canucks have to do it, man. We need a Thanksgiving jersey we are America's team. Miller and Hughes, etc. Come on. Demko, yo, Where's the Thanksgiving jersey,
Yeah,
man?
I can see the orca chomping into a turkey. I think that might slap a little bit. No, that's why we're here as
Ooh.
podcasters and not graphic designers. But we talked about the floor of the Vancouver Canucks being risen, and you know what? I think that was especially true not just last night, but throughout the whole season. And even just looking at the even strength or the 5-on-5 ice time leaders among Canucks forwards last night, Anthony Beauvillier led all Canucks forwards with 13:58 of 5-on-5 ice time, followed by Sam Lafferty at 12:58. Then there was Besser and Miller, and then Nils Höglander. Nils Höglander has been kind of bottom of the forwards in ice time, but he finished fifth among forwards in ice time last night. And
Wow.
once again on the ice for another goal for, no goals against.
No
That fourth
way.
line, again, the Canucks' two bottom lines, I wrote about it for Daily Hive yesterday. The Canucks' two bottom lines right now have been, really like two of the best bottom six lines in hockey. I mean, that Joshua Suter Garland line, and even with Bluger, like the stats haven't really changed. They're controlling around 70% of the expected goals for. That line has not been on the ice for a goal against. And then you look at Höglander, Lafferty, and
Wow.
Beauvillier. They're not controlling as much expected goals for, but they're still above 60%, which is in the upper echelon of the NHL. And they've produced more as well. They've, after last night, now outscoring the opposition 6-1 when they've been on the ice this season. So, I mean, I haven't done the deep dive yet. I kind of want to, but like Kyle, off the top of your head, do you think the Canucks could potentially have the best depth forwards in the NHL?
No, we need a deep dive. Okay, come on, man. I know you're gonna nerd out soon and really break that down, but I can't say that. A, because I've only really been closely watching the Vancouver Canucks this season. For real, and that's a bold statement. That's a bold statement, man. It's just the truth. This all being said, you did mention a couple things that I do want to touch on really closely, and that's having Teddy Bluger back, but still missing Pius Suter a lot. I think he's
Mm-hmm.
more offensive, and his defensive game at the time, well, prior to him getting injured, was getting way better. He was doing a lot all over the ice, and it's no shot at Teddy Bluger, but we are missing Pius Suter. I think two players that are ironically not missing Pius Suter that much. Maybe they like having him on road trips. Maybe he's a gambler. Maybe he does his thing. But Dakota Joshua and Connor Garland seem to be doing the same thing. And we got to talk more about Dakota, man, because he's become way more of a player over the past 10 to 12 games. A complete player. He's everywhere, man.
Yeah.
And he's become a really, really good penalty killer as well on a bad penalty kill, whatever that means. Take that with a grain of salt. But he's just way better than I thought he would be. And he seems to be, I wouldn't say drive and play, but noticeable in the right ways all the time. Now, Nils Höglander and company, him and Lafferty, great chemistry, good tenacity. Beauvillier playing a bit quicker. And yeah, it's I think about these things a lot, and then I realize that, oh, dude, Beauvillier has barely any points. He's not the one getting traded. Are the Canucks going to get desperate here and try to fix this patch, try to not slide by acquiring a player, and is the only asset that is worth anything on that bottom six, Nils Höglander? Like, how there's a little bit of depth there, and if Pius Suter comes back, they can kind of have a difficult decision. Well, what if that person sitting out is Höglander and they trade it? Oh, just scaring me, man, because he's so good. He's so good.
Yeah, I honestly wonder, and I didn't really think it was possible a couple days ago, but we saw it happen again last night. Anthony Beauvillier ends up back on the second line with Brock Besser and JT Miller, and that was part of the reason why he led the Canucks in even strength ice time last night. Part of me wonders if they are trying to showcase Anthony Beauvillier a bit, because let's be real, this guy is probably not coming back next season. He's a big ticket off the books.
He's
I think
not.
a lot
Just
of
say it. He's not coming back next
yeah,
season. Yeah.
I'd be shocked if he came back next season.
Yeah.
I mean, Tyler Myers, Anthony Beauvillier come off the books. Most of that money goes to Hronek and Pettersson, and they got to tinker around the edges again. So I do wonder if the Canucks are trying to showcase Anthony Beauvillier a bit. Say like, hey, look, here's a guy, like, came into training camp, started on our fourth line. We're a deep team, not a big deal. Now all of a sudden he's pushing his way back into the top six. And it's like, okay, yeah, he's kicked Phil DiGiuseppe off the second line. How impressive is that really? But Phil DiGiuseppe's my guy, man. The guy's been playing well. So
Well, they're looking for a spark,
again,
That's why they're moving things around sometimes. They're in a bit of a slump.
Yeah.
You see those things, but I do think you're hitting the nail on the head. Like maybe Alvin and Rutherford made the phone call down to talking and was like, yo, if things are going a little weird and the boys are just not having a lot of juice and you got to put the lines in a blender, make sure you put Beauvillier in a spot to succeed. And I'm going to give him a little bit of credit because yeah, he's not generating a lot of offense as far as like real offense, real points, but he's playing a lot quicker, more noticeable. I wouldn't say a lot of bite, but his battle level has risen, and he was a big reason why we scored one of the goals last night. And I hope he's the guy that gets traded for a defenseman. I really hope it's not Nils Höglander, man. This guy is just doing it, bro. You know why I keep bringing it up? Not to manifest or not to get annoying. I'm looking at the Canucks defense. We still have like 6 weeks, 7 weeks without Carson Soucy, you know? It's just the truth. And guys, we still have like 8 weeks without Ethan Bear, you know? It's just the truth. And if the Canucks keep if they lose their next 2 straight games or something, right? I'm not going to panic, but internally maybe they're like, yo, we need help because Friedman and Juleson playing that much obviously isn't going to work. We need help ASAP, and unless it's like not a first-round pick or a second-round pick, it's going to be Nils Höglander that gets some legitimate help back because nobody's taking Beauvillier for a good player. You're getting another Noah Juleson for Beauvillier right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to help your team.
Yeah, I know. I hear you on that one. And again, I'd be super hesitant to trade Nils Höglander. We've already talked about that this week. Make sure you go check that out because we did an episode about that already, baby. But, Nils Höglander now, he's on a 4-game point streak. It's the longest point streak of his NHL career.
Wow.
He had a few pockets of 3-game point streaks, but again, first time he's been on a 4-game point streak. And again, like to have guys like Höglander and Beauvillier on your fourth line. And again, I feel like we're kind of poo-pooing on Beauvillier a bit. He played well last night. I do think. I don't know if he'll earn the promotion to the second line over a guy like Höglander, but he's played well. I would say he's been playing better than DiGiuseppe, and I wasn't mad about him getting time with Besser and Miller there. Now, again, kind of to put a bow in it quickly here, when I look at some of the highest scoring teams in the NHL, some of the best teams in the NHL, in my mind, again, doing this real quick, I think the only team who might have better depth than the Canucks in their bottom 6 is probably the Vegas Golden Knights and maybe the Stars as well, but the Dallas Stars are rocking Mason Marchment, Matt Duchene, and Tyler Seguin on their third line, and that line is killing it. But with Vegas right now, I mean,
they win.
Their third line, they have Paul Cotter, William Karlsson, Michael Amadio. Fourth line, they have Nicholas Waugh, William Carrier, Keegan Colasar. I mean, I still think Vegas is probably the classy NHL in terms of forward depth, but
they are.
Man, oh man, the way the Canucks bottom 6 is playing, I think they're right there with a team like Vegas.
Wow, dude, look at you, man. Using the word fragile off the top, but then now saying things like our bottom 6 is right up there with those guys and those players. You delusional, man. I like it though, man. I like it. Yo, bro, honestly, you're delusional to a sense from my perspective, but you know how I told you that it only took me about 20 minutes to get over the loss last night? It's because of what I'm seeing from guys like Joshua Garland, Höglander, Beauvillier, Lafferty, Bluger. And I saw some people like get mad at Tyler Myers yesterday and whatnot, but I just feel as if the bottom end players of this team, they're more pro, man. They're more pro. They're taking it seriously, man. Really serious, man. They're bought in. They're listening to Talkit, and it's gonna make this transition over to the next 20 games and resetting and making sure we're accountable / picking up wins on the regular and just doing whatever we did in the first 20 games again. More easier. It's just the truth. Like okay, you know how you talked about Miller. We talked about Miller, Hughes, Hronek, the foundational pieces. We're in this little struggle. Those guys are playing good, and then we got like this layer of the depth playing good. And then when you sprinkle in the resurgence of Demko and Pettersson, that's how you win games. Again.
Yeah, and you talked about the resurgence of Pettersson and Demko. I mean, because right now it would be a bit of a resurgence because they're struggling.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to touch on in the final segment here on Locked On Canucks. Again, no ad read because it's American Thanksgiving. Locked On Canucks, owned by an American company. What? That doesn't matter. Okay, this is the home of the West Coast buys up here in
why did we
Canada,
have to do ad reads on Diwali night?
Yeah, seriously.
Why
right?
are you laughing, man?
Unbelievable, man. All right, a little Pettersson Demko talk on the final segment here on Locked On Canucks.
Okay. Another episode of Locked On Canucks going by just like that. My name Kyle Bhawan. That right there is Trevor Beggs. More importantly, this is the show that gives you your Canucks every day. A shout out to all our podcast listeners. on the audio side, leave us a review and rate the show. It helps us out a lot. Yeah, it just helps us out a lot, man. For real. I'm thinking about it. Christmas coming up. I still got to buy my girlfriend a purse or something, you know? I really want to do that. And, bro, like, Trevor, man, your daughter's getting older, man. She's going to remember things. I think she's going to remember this Christmas for the rest of her life. She may not be able to remember the Christmas of, like, the 1-year-old, the 2-year-old, you know? But she's getting older. She's going to remember these moments. So you better come swinging with the gifts, bro. This what matters, bro. This Christmas matters, man.
And that's why I have a wonderful, beautiful wife who does most of the gift planning.
No, come on, man. Okay, what do you think would be like one gift you would get her off the rip? Is it a Canucks jersey this year?
It's
maybe,
funny
right?
because I'm not super planned out with gifts, but I did have a little shopping time last year towards the end of Christmas, and my wife bought all the gifts. But I went out shopping, ate my vegetables, went shopping, ended up getting like a couple of really cool like coloring books for my daughter. Like one was like you had this pen and it was on blank paper, but as soon as you used the pen, it was like this marker that made like rainbow colors. It was really cool, man.
Oh man!
I got her a couple other things too. I don't remember. That was the one thing that stood out because I thought it was pretty cool.
Remember, man, I think.
But she loved them, which was important.
Remember, I think your daughter's a low-key genius. I've seen her art before, and dude, this is not delusion talking. I think she's got something, man. She got the sauce. And we know that Demko and Pettersson have a lot more sauce to give to the Vancouver Canucks. It's just the truth. Okay, I think for multiple weeks I've been saying this about Pettersson. Something is a little off, and now we're kind of seeing it with Demko too. It's momentum, it's confidence, it's hopefully not anything more than that, injury-related, you know what I'm saying? And once they get their swagger back, it's going to help so much. So much. Because a big reason why we've lost, what's the number? 3 of 5, 4 of 6, blah, 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 is because those two are just not playing like they're 95 overall right now. And in the beginning of the season, they were.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, with Thatcher Demko, for me, it's, again, shooting above just being like a middling team, an average team. I think we came into the season thinking the Canucks were a wild card team. I think that was my playoff prediction for them, that they were the first wild card team. But now I think the stakes have been raised a bit higher. And I look right now at the other top two teams in the Pacific, the Los Angeles Kings and the Vegas Golden Knights. And Thatcher Demko right now, again, he's let in 17 goals over his last 5 games. So he's on a bit of a slow stretch. But he still has a .923 save percentage on the season. Pretty good. But you look at the Los Angeles Kings, Cam Talbot. I think goaltending was a major question for the Kings. And Cam Talbot has a .930 save percentage right now. Aiden Hill with the Vegas Golden Knights has a .932 save percentage right now. So, I mean, we've been, talking about Thatcher Demko being the favorite for the Vezina. Now, all of a sudden, he's got the 3rd best save percentage among goaltenders in the division.
Oh, wow, dude. Look at that dagger, man. Well, that's what happens. What's the 17 goals against in the last bro, it's not good enough. Again, if you look at a game like yesterday, right, you can't really blame him on anything that happened. But at the same time, for this version of the Vancouver Canucks and versions moving forward when you're on the Vancouver Canucks, right? You got to, and we've seen it in the wins, you got to bail out the team. And recently, we haven't really gotten that extra save. Now, I feel as if we did get, I'm being a bit of a hypocrite because he was pretty good against San Jose. Like, San Jose brought it at points and he was solid, okay? And then that third period against the Islanders, he was really good, like Vezina good. But a big reason, again, why the Canucks 4 of 6, 3 of 5, whatever the number is, we've lost those games is because, again, the extra save is not there. And when Demko's on, the extra save is there. And it's going to happen. It's going to turn around. Now with Pettersson, though, what do you think it is? What are you hearing, bro? You're up there. Come on, spill the beans, bro. Spill the beans, bro.
Insider. No, I'm not hearing anything right now. He was sick to start the season. I'm not hearing that he has any ailment, any sickness right now. I mean, maybe he was celebrating his birthday early. I think his birthday's on November 25th here. So happy early birthday to Elias. About to turn 25. So not necessarily a young man anymore, but a youngish man, younger than you and I, Kyle.
So you think it's a party? It's like he's in partying here, just doing his thing.
Could be partying.
And not like in a weird, just enjoying life, enjoying the moment. He deserves it, man.
Yeah, it's his. I find right now with Pettersson, his reads in the defensive zone just don't seem as crisp as they were before. I mean, look, this guy's getting the
fogginess in the mind, bro. 420, bro. Dude, you're breaking
Oh,
it
this
down.
guy. I mean, coming into the season, this guy's getting the Datsu comparisons, the Fedorov comparisons, or like, can this guy like win the Selk and get 100 points? And it's like, yeah, JT Miller is the better defensive player on the Canucks right now, more so than Elias Pettersson. And I think that's the positive way. Like, let's end the show on a positive note here on
We
Locked
are,
On
we
Canucks,
are.
your team every day. The positive thing about the Canucks is that Pettersson's going to bounce back. We talked about Hughes struggling for a couple games, and like Hughes has bounced back over the last couple games. Right now, JT Miller is picking up the slack that Elias Pettersson's leaving behind. Pettersson's getting some points. He's not playing his cleanest hockey by any means. But JT Miller, on the other hand, is playing good defensive hockey against the opposition's best players. And he's scoring points. JT Miller's now on a 9-game point streak right now. So, yeah, I'm not too worried about Elias Pettersson. But, yeah, there's those reads right now don't seem as crisp.
Yeah.
Kuzmenko doesn't seem to have the full trust of the coach on that line. Ilya Mikheyev, who I think is playing, who looks good based on the eye test, analytically isn't playing great. And both that whole line of Mikheyev, Pettersson, and Kuzmenko have been on the ice for quite a few goals against. I believe Pettersson's been on the ice for like 12 goals against and 5 goals scored in the past 8 games or something like that. So
Holy, dude.
the Canucks are not tilting. The Canucks are tilting the ice when the bottom 6 is out there, but they're not tilting the ice with Elias Pettersson on the ice right now.
Boom. You just heard that. And that's why you got to hope that the next 20 games are going to be very similar when it comes to our record as the previous 20 were, because the bottom of this lineup, again, is drive and play. That was something that we thought had no chance of being a thing. Again, when we talked about the Canucks having success, it was like, okay, top heavy, great power play, Miller, Hughes, Pettersson, Hronek, maybe, Demko, blah, blah, blah. We're going to pick up some dubs. We're going to get lucky. When the foundation or part of the foundation of this team is, again, having the depth, actually being bro, the overall trajectory of this team is way bigger. It's what that's the mark of a good hockey team, a really good hockey team, not just a good hockey team based on their stars, but just having every guy bought in. And Pettersson will bounce back. He'll bounce back, in my opinion, ASAP. I feel as if maybe, just maybe, he has to get adjusted, not to a new role, but not being necessarily that guy. Because Miller is that guy. That may sound crazy to say out loud, but just based on matchups, like, that matters. Miller is that guy. He's their number one center. And maybe it's taken Pettersson a little bit of time when it comes to his psyche to get used to that. But he just has to, again, grip the stick a little less tight, and then also have his line mates carry the accountability too. Okay, on that note, the last question, is there something wrong with Kuzmenko? What would you want more from Kuzmenko? Because I saw Twitter going off on him last night, and I'm like, dude, to be honest, I think he's a good player. I think when Pettersson elevates, and we haven't really seen him being consistently great 5-on-5 the whole season, Kuzmenko will look better. But all in all, I've been impressed with Kuzmenko's effort. Now, it looked pretty bad on that goal yesterday, but overall, he's more engaged. And to me, it's like one step at a time. He wasn't doing the things he's doing last year.
Yeah, I think he's still showing creativity on the offensive zone. Had a chance in the power play, obviously, that could have been a goal, but was blocked by Jack Johnson, who's somehow still in the NHL.
Yeah.
I think Kuzmenko, it's worth remembering that the guy just took like almost 100-mile-an-hour slap shot to the face like not even a week ago, right? So how many of us have taken a 100-mile-an-hour slap shot to the face? So, yeah, I mean, Kuzmenko, he's an interesting case because I don't think he's fully trusted by the coaching staff. I think the 5-on-5 ice time reflects that. But in general, let's just see. I'm more curious how he's going to be used maybe as the Canucks, get towards the playoffs, right? Is this guy going to be trusted in the playoffs, or is he going to get the same usage where, again, you're paying this guy $5.5 million per season, which seems like a bargain based on his creativity, but can he be a 200-foot player? And I don't think the coaching staff, nor most of the fan base, thinks he's that guy right now.
Okay, well, I lied. This is my last question, then sign us out, okay? If there were to be a lineup change when it comes to the formation of these lines, and let's just go with the top line and then get out of here, what's the lineup looking like? What's that number one line looking like? Who are Pettersson's wingers? Because, bro, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a new top line or a new second line for the Vancouver Canucks on Friday. It's just the truth. So if that's the case, who do you see playing with Pettersson?
You know what? The way things are going right now, shoot, that's a hard one because I'm not sure again where I think Kuzmenko and Pettersson, they're pretty hell bent on keeping that duo together.
Okay.
I think maybe Höglander might get a bit of spot duty up there. He was the guy who kind of replaced Kuzmenko in the preseason. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kuzmenko struggles, Höglander gets some time, just in the way that Phil DiGiuseppe has been kind of quiet, so Beauvillier gets some time up there, right? You have these guys in the bottom six who can play up the lineup, and that's what makes the Canucks bottom six so interesting. Going to be lots of interesting tidbits to take away over the next few games. Again, the Canucks play Friday and Saturday against the Kraken and the Sharks, respectively. Some big division games coming up the week after that. We got all that covered for you here on Locked On Canucks. We appreciate the heck out of you for tuning in. Happy American Thanksgiving once again to our American listeners. And coming up on Friday's show, we might take a look at the Canucks defense, who they may target. We might also look at the Canucks and the World Juniors, okay? They got a handful of guys who could be playing for a gold medal in a month's time. But for now, we got to get out of here. I'm Trevor Beggs, that guy's Kyle Bhawan, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.